This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Welcome to the Rated R Safety Show, where the truth burns louder than the noise. Fire in the static, breaking through the haze. Dr. J. Allen's voice cuts like a blade. No sugar, no fluff, just raw and brave. The truth's got teeth and it won't be
The following program is rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, I think we already know that it does not matter who the host is. What has always mattered is who the listeners are. Anyways, today is Friday, November the 21st of 2025, day 325th of the year, and only 40 days left to go. We are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM, and then we are hanging out with our friends and colleagues over there.
You're being infiltrated. Radio Big.
Oh, yes. Infiltration and Radio Big is always the way that we do our stuff. No doubt about that. As we are talking. Yeah, seriously. Like, there is no doubt. So, how have you been? How's the last 24 hours or so? Because, it's always important to see how you're doing. You are the most important person on the planet. Let's not lie here and figure out what the hell's going on. Hopefully everything's good. It is Friday. Depending on how your workflow works, this could be the last portion before a little mini vacay, or this could be it. I mean, this could be the countdown to extinction type of thing. So what are you doing? Are you off all of next week, or are you only off Thursday, Friday? Because it's one of those weird weeks. We are kind of up in the air here. In regards to what we're doing. I mean, I'm not going to lie and to be like, oh yeah, we're working the whole week. We've been having a lot of talks that this might be the last show till December. And I know it's only the 21st, so that's a lot to talk about. So outside of that, let's talk about what we do here. Our show consists of safety in the news and safety. That's kind of how we do our gig. Outside of that, we talk a little bit about this and a little bit about that. And on Fridays, we kind of give recaps of what the hell's going on, and we play catch up of the stuff that we didn't get to talk about earlier in the week. That's how it goes. So with that being said, I think we should start off bringing in some people from Feature Story News, letting them tell you about what the hell's going on. We can also talk about some other stuff as we're going on and talk about the week in review and all that kind of fun stuff. So why don't we do it in this fashion? Why don't we go ahead and start off with some Feature Story News? Let them tell us what's going on. If you decide that you want to jump in and talk a little bit and tell us what the hell is going on from your end of the world, why don't we have you do this? Go to callinradio.com. And once you get there, You give us some audio, you give us some video, you give us some text message, and you have some options there. I get a prompt on the screen, and then we move forward. I think that sounds like a plan of stuff that we should do. So if you're good to go, I'm good to go. I will bring you my friends from Feature Story News, for they can give you some features about what the hell's going on inside of this multiverse of ours. So let's get into the news right now.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in New Delhi, I'm Ashan Garg. The White House has denied reports it will now be taking part in the G20 summit in South Africa. The country's president, Cyril Ramaphosa, said talks with the US were ongoing, despite President Donald Trump previously ruling out any participation over genocide claims. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
Thursday saw confusing signals from Pretoria and Washington. The South African president, Cyril Ramaphosa, suggested that his country was in talks with the US about American officials taking part in the G20 in some way, shape or form. That, however, was denied by the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt.
The United States is not participating in official talks at the G20 in South Africa. I saw the South African president running his mouth a little bit against the United States and the president of the United States earlier today, and that language is not appreciated.
President Donald Trump had previously said that no US official would take part in the G20 summit in South Africa, a significant break with protocol amid unverified claims that South Africa is allowing genocide against white South African farmers. I'm Nick Harper in Washington.
China has bought a limited amount of American soybeans after it agreed last month to resume imports. The lack of large purchases has fueled concerns among American farmers, a key support base of US President Donald Trump. Laura Westbrook reports from Hong Kong.
China is the world's largest consumer of soybeans. It stopped buying the crop from the US during the trade war between the world's two biggest economies, hurting farmers, which are a key support base of President Donald Trump. Following a meeting between the US president and Chinese leader Xi Jinping in South Korea, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said China agreed to buy 12 million tons of soybeans through the remainder of the year. Chinese purchases so far reportedly total around 10% of the promised amount, and no new large buys have been reported. China has been buying more soybeans from South American countries like Brazil, and some experts argue China can almost meet domestic demand without making large purchases from the US. Laura Westbrook, Hong Kong.
Health authorities in Gaza say 4 Palestinians were killed in Israeli attacks on Thursday. It follows a wave of Israeli airstrikes on Wednesday that came after Israel accused Hamas of firing on its soldiers.
Local authorities in Gaza are reporting further deadly Israeli strikes in Khan Yunis as an outbreak of violence that began on Wednesday continues. At least 28 people were killed, including 9 children, in Israeli airstrikes that targeted Khan Yunis as well as the Zaytun and Shijaya neighborhoods of Gaza City on Wednesday. The attacks came after the Israeli military said Hamas violated the ceasefire by firing on soldiers in the Khan Yunis area. No soldiers were injured in the attack that allegedly occurred inside Israeli military-controlled territory. Hamas called the Gaza airstrikes a dangerous escalation.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking in more detail today at this week's failure of Cloudflare that brought more chaos to a range of internet activities and popular apps. The chances are you've never heard of Cloudflare because it generally sits in the background of your internet activities, acting on behalf of clients like Elon Musk's X, Zoom, Spotify, and millions of other sites to prevent denial of service attacks that could bring those services to a crashing halt. But on Tuesday, Cloudflare itself found its service failing in what the company called a significant outage after a configuration file designed to handle threatening traffic failed to do what it was supposed to do. Professor Alan Woodward is a security expert at the Surrey Centre for Cybersecurity.
The irony is quite large here. Their network is so important to all these other companies that there should be no single point of failure, but somehow looks like something's gone wrong internally. Their network just shouldn't have a single point of failure. So even if there's like an equipment failure, it should fail over to another piece of equipment. And the users shouldn't notice the difference.
Millions of websites were put at risk by the Cloudflare failure, which took about 3 hours to resolve. And like an outage at Amazon Web Services last month, it again revealed just how vulnerable the internet remains to technical failures, but also to potential attacks. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
FSN is an independent source of news for TV, radio and digital networks worldwide. You can find more of our minute-by-minute updates on Twitter. Follow us there at Feature Story. And we have a wealth of audio and video stories from our global news bureaus on Facebook. You can find us there by following Feature Story News. Stay tuned for further updates right here. But for now, that is the latest Feature Story News. Ishan Garg reporting.
The White House dialing back President Trump's own words today. The president calling several Democrats in Congress, most of them veterans, traitors in a post, and then in another post saying this is punishable by death after they put out a video telling service members they can refuse, quote, illegal orders.
At the National Cathedral today, all 5 living vice presidents gathered to honor the memory of the man considered to be the most powerful vice president of all, Dick Cheney. President George W. Bush praised Cheney as an American patriot.
This was a vice president totally devoted to protecting the United States and its interests. There was never any agenda or angle beyond that.
President Trump has now signed the Epstein Files bill into law, the final step to force the Justice Department to turn over everything it has on Epstein within the next 30 days.
The case against former FBI Director James Comey. Prosecutors today revealing they made a potentially serious paperwork error. This could actually lead to the case being tossed out?
Tom, it could, and it's pretty remarkable. Prosecutors were forced to admit today in court the full grand jury never reviewed what became the final indictment against Comey for lying to Congress and obstruction of justice.
A camera catches a devastating Russian strike on Kharkiv in Ukraine, suffering one of its deadliest nights. In Ternopil, officials say 26 killed, including 3 children.
And get this, due to Trump's tariffs, wine is going to be more expensive this holiday season. Americans looked at their extended family and said, whatever it costs, it's worth it. Let's go, come on, bring it out.
The president today, he kept busy, he kept his eye on the ball, and he even addressed this situation at a live corporate event.
Everyone loves something at McDonald's. There's always something to have. I like the fish. I like
that. This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of the toilet flush. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
This isn't a safety manual. It's a transmission. Jay Allen, PhD, host of the Rated R Safety Show and founder of Safety FM, has spent years pulling back the curtain on the systems we work in and the ones we don't talk about. What started as a fatal crash on the 405 became a search for truth. Through behavior-based safety, human and organizational performance, simulation theory, and everything in between. Safety, in my opinion, is raw, reflective, and real. From burnout to breakthroughs, from the matrix to the moment someone says, "This doesn't feel right." This book doesn't give you answers. It hands you the signal. Safety, in my opinion. Available now, wherever books and audiobooks are found.
You ever hit the wall, burnout, stressed, or just feeling that everything is piling up and thought, yeah, I probably need to talk to someone? The problem is finding the therapist who actually takes your insurance feels impossible at times. That's where Rula comes in. Rula is a healthcare company that makes mental health care easy to access and actually affordable. They partner with over 100 insurance plans, so the average copay is about $15 a session, sometimes even less. With Rula, you get matched with the right therapist for you, not just whoever's available. Their network has over 15,000 licensed professionals, and you can book an appointment as soon as tomorrow. No wait list, no frustrations, just therapy that works with your schedule and your insurance. Thousands of people are already using Rula to get affordable, high-quality therapy that actually covered by insurance. Visit Rula.com/safetyfm to get started. After you sign up, you'll be asked how you heard about them. Please support our show and let them know that we sent you there. That's RULA.com/safetyfm. You deserve mental health care that works with you, not against your budget. Go to Rula.com RULA.com/safetyfm right now to get started. That's RULA.com/safetyfm, because you deserve mental health care that works with you, not against your budget.
You are listening to something magical. You're listening to the Rated R Safety Show.
Oh, yeah. If you believe in magic, you are definitely listening to something magical. No doubt about that. So let's start talking right away. I constantly on this show, and in my normal life, I talk about how when technology fails you, it's terrible. But for the most part, technology is great. But here is one of those considerations on how terrible things can be sometimes. So take a listen to this one, if you're ready, because, we have to get started with this stuff. An AI-enabled teddy bear called Kuma, Kumma, has been pulled from the market after researchers discovered that it would dive into explicit sexual conversations and other dangerous topics. A U.S.-Canadian research team tested the $99 plush toy. It's sold in Singapore-based Follow Toy and powered by OpenAI's ChatGPT 4o, and found that it's disturbingly easy to steer the bear into graphic discussions involving BDSM, roleplay, sex position, and even taboo scenarios that it introduced on its own. The toy also gave unsafe advice, like telling users where to find sharp knives in their homes. Following the report, Follow Toy removed Kuma and all of its AI toys from sale while launching their internal safety audit. OpenAI responded, as well as suspending Follow Toy license for violating platform policies. So first off, we would have to understand what the fuck a platform policy is and exactly how it got suspended. Let's start off with that. And how does it get to this scenario? Like, that's going to be the next question. Like, how does it go about and go, okay, we are not allowed to talk about this anymore for this particular reason. So what do you think? I mean, it's kind of weird that we have started to become so dependent, because it's not independent, it's dependent on some of this AI tooling, that it makes you question some of the other stuff that's going on inside of the world of the multiverse. So what do you think here? Like, as you sit back for a moment and you think about it, is there anything that jumps to mind and go, oh yeah, that might have been a good idea or a terrible idea to put that in there?
More sarcasm than a Mortal Kombat beatdown. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, take a listen to this. A 53-year-old woman in Kent County, Michigan, made a late-night food run and turned into $1 million surprise. She stopped at a convenience store and grabbed a few scratch-offs and with a little snack of hers, and discovered at home that the Lady Luck 777 ticket was worth $1 million. This is not a made-up story, by the way, just in case. She said that she was so stunned that she couldn't fall back asleep. So was she driving to get the snack at the scratch off and fell asleep, or was sleeping, then woke up and went, okay, a whole other story. The win hasn't fully sunk in yet, so she's parking the money into a savings for now. Michigan lottery officials highlighted that her story is a perfect example on how unexpected, life-changing wins often are. Sometimes all it takes is hunger and a scratch off. But I want to reference this because this is going to kind of be important as we're talking about this. If you drop that into a savings account, because she did say savings, you better proposition that thing correctly, because you know that the FDIC only covers up to $250,000 in total.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so let's probably get into some serious stuff for a couple of minutes, even though we're trying to, catch up with everything that's going on. So take a listen to this. The White House pushed back yesterday on claims that President Trump wants to execute members of Congress who warned U.S. troops not to follow unlawful orders. Press Secretary told reporters that the president does not want to execute anyone, but he does want those lawmakers held accountable. This started after 6 Democratic lawmakers, all with military or intelligence backgrounds, released videos reminding service members that they are obligated to follow lawful orders only. The president blasted the video as seditious behavior from traitors, and later posted seditious behavior punishable by death, sparking questions about whether he's calling for executions. The press secretary said critics are ignoring what provoked Trump's reaction, arguing that lawmakers were encouraging troops to defy the chain of command. She insisted the president had issued no illegal orders and accused the group of inciting instability. The lawmakers, Senator Elisa Slotkin and Mark Kelly, and Reps Jason Crow, Christy Haulana, and Chris DeLuzio and Maggie Goodlander defended their video in a joint statement saying, telling the president sees the reminder of basic military laws are worthy of death. They said the service members must know that Congress supports them in following the Constitution above all.
This morning, President Trump accused 6 Democratic lawmakers of seditious behavior punishable by death. Just to be clear, does the president want to execute members of Congress?
No. The sanctity of our military rests on the chain of command. And if that chain of command is broken, it can lead to people getting killed. It can lead to chaos. And that's what these members of Congress who swore an oath to abide by the Constitution are essentially encouraging. And it perhaps is punishable by law. I'm not a lawyer. I'll leave that to the Department of Justice and the Department of War to decide.
I am not a lawyer. I will let the Department of Justice and War. Hold on, let's try that again. Decide. So there you go. Some stuff going on as we are talking. Okay, take a listen to this. Where do we want to go? Let's keep it in politics for a moment, or kind of politic-ish. Kansas City's chief assistant Dave Toub fired back at presidents after he blasted the NFL's new dynamic kickoff rule yet again. The president's been railing against the rule since last season, saying that it wrecks the flow of the game, kills the momentum, and doesn't actually improve safety. He repeated the whole riff on the Pat McAfee show in Truth Social while waiting to watch himself on 60 Minutes. Classic timing. Tube wasn't having it. At yesterday's presser, he flat out said that the president doesn't even know what he's looking at and has no idea what's going on with the kickoff rule, daring him to hear it. The rule itself was designed to cut down high-speed collisions and force more returns instead of endless touchbacks. The kicker stays back, but the coverage team lines up at the opponent's 40-yard line and can't move until the ball hits the ground on the return or a returner. Any ball landing between the goal line and the 20-yard line has to be brought back out, but the early numbers are messy. The Athletic reports that concussions per 100 kickoffs actually jumped up this year compared to the same stretch last season. Concussions on actual returns also climbed, missing that in comparison in how 2023 kickoff concussion rate compares. And the league in February's data did show a long-term improvement. Kickoff concussions in 2024 were 43% lower than 2021 and 2023 average. So there you go. Some stuff to think about as we are talking. Keeping up with some new stuff, a team of the U.S. contractors suddenly landed on the Mexican beach of Playa Bagdad near Rio Grande hits the Gulf and started painting signs claiming that the area was restricted U.S. Defense Department zone. Locals freaked out and called authorities, and the Mexico heavily armed security forces rolled in fast, leading to a tense face-off on the sand. The Pentagon later admitted that the Americans messed up and the blame shifting water depth and terrain for confusing where the international boundary really was. The 6 signs written in English and Spanish warned the beach was U.S. property, access was restricted, and violators could be detained. Mexico Navy pulled the signs out immediately, calling the whole thing unclear and potential Mexican territory. Both countries kicked the issue over the International Boundary and Water Commission and a binational group that decides officials or border and handles border-related disputes. They'll review maps and treaty documents to figure out what in the world actually is happening. So there you go. What do you think? I think it's weird. It's weird. Some of the stuff that's still going on. But I guess we can leave that for another chalk up for another day on some stuff to talk about. No doubt about that. So what do you think as we are talking? No, seriously, what do you think about it? It's kind of a weird thing. Because listen, I don't know. How do you go into another country and just say, hey, I think this belongs to us, so we're just going to mark it off over here and start taking over? I mean, do you think that that's the way to do stuff? I'm asking your opinion because it's definitely your opinion that's going to matter as we are talking. Like, seriously. Like, what is the best case scenario here? I don't know. So that is always the fun stuff that you and I get to talk about as we are looking around. So what else is going on inside of the world? Do we want to take a look around at some of the other stuff that's not important or somewhat important, or do we slow it down a little bit and go with some other angles? Remember, we're still playing catch up with everything that's going on. And by the way, I guess I need to mention this. Let me see if I have the right one over here. So I had talked about this, and I guess we need to move forward a little bit about this. So I need you to save the date if you have not done so already. But January 28th and 29th of 2026, the Learning Team Incorporated and Safety FM will be presenting Hop into Action in Vancouver. Yeah, we're going to Canada. I will give you some of the layout of the land and what we have planned, but I will tell you some of the crew that we normally hang around with here at Safety FM will be there, so you don't have to worry. Maybe even this guy. Duh. So that's something to think about as we are hanging out and doing some things. So if you can have the opportunity or do have the opportunity to do so, mark this down on your calendar. Mark it down. January the 28th and 29th, Vancouver, Canada. We will be hanging out, doing some stuff related to Hop into Action. Would love to see you there. I will be putting up some stuff on our website, safetyfm.com, on live events. So all you have to do is take a look-see around there, and you'll be able to see it. See it over there. What exactly is going on? So maybe that is some of the stuff to think about as we are going through the whole thing. So January the 28th and 29th, Vancouver, Canada. Would love to see you there. I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a two-dayer, and it's going to be an interesting two-dayer. Not to say anything else. Don't want to spill the beans. Don't want to give out too much, because I think that once you hear what we have planned, you might be a little bit more surprised than you first expected as we are talking. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue talking about some other stuff that's going on inside of the world of the multiverse as we are 27 minutes past the top of the hour. Let's talk about this one real quick. A former Hill aide is now at the center of a wild scandal after federal prosecutor says that he staged a political hate straight out of bad late-night script. According to a complaint, 26-year-old Natalia Green allegedly paid a body modification artist to carve a fake wound into her skin, then claimed that she had been violently attacked by three men in New Jersey Park. Duh. The supposed attackers, she said, hurled insults at her, including a sexual slur referencing her as referencing the president, and scribbled accusations about her former boss, Representative Jeff Van Drew, on her stomach. Police found that the zip ties in the woods beat up on a paper, but not in reality. Investigators quickly uncovered receipts, text messages, a zip ties near me search, and a Reddit trail pointing straight to scarification forums. In short, the plot fell apart faster than a dollar store piñata. She's now charged with conspiracy and making false statements to federal agents, serious stuff that carries up to 10 years in prison and a $500,000 fine. She's out of hefty bond while her attorney insisted the innocent until proven guilty stuff. I mean, I don't know. It gets weird right away as we are talking. I mean, I don't know. What do you think about the whole thing? I mean, I don't understand why you would do that. So, I don't know. Let's do something a little bit calmer here for just a moment.
What's a gardener's favorite crime show? Law and Order.
Oh my God, that was terrible. Why would Alexa even tell me that? I don't even get it. what's the point here? So here you go. A lot of stuff going on still inside of the multiverses of ours as we take a look around at everything that is going on. So there you go. I don't know. So yesterday, if you had not heard, former Dick Cheney's funeral was yesterday. Former vice president, I should say. So take a listen to this real quick.
Lynn, Liz, and Mary, and all the Cheney family, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate this chance to say a few words about a man I was proud to call my vice president and my friend. Though not a happy assignment, I do consider it an easy one because there was so much to like and admire about Dick Cheney. Dick was a stoical man, and I doubt he left this life with any complaints about the time given to him or its end. He was also a grateful man, grateful above all for 3 loyal, loving women who shared in his journey. As I quickly discovered in 2000, when you choose one Cheney, you get 4. His busy and purposeful life was an adventure they experienced together. In a family so close, you dread the day when the circle is broken. Lynn and the girls, Heather, Phil, and all the grandchildren, he sure loved you all. And he was proud of his family.
So there you go. Former President George W. Bush talks about Dick Cheney. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things you start getting to hear some of this stuff and you just go, wow, what exactly is going on? Because, sometimes we decide that we don't really want to know what is going on anymore in regards to some of the stuff of life. I know. It's like you look at it and you go, end of life is such a hard thing to even talk about from time to time. Don't even know what to say from one moment to the next when it is all said and done. Anyways, with that being said, we are so close to the 32-minute mark that I think it might be time to start talking right away about what was going on inside of the world of the news. Because remember, on Fridays, Freeform Fridays, we do news stories for our main story and not so much doing the main story like we do Monday through Thursday. So take a listen to this.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in the UK, I'm John Beaver. World leaders are gathering in South Africa for the G20 summit, but a notable absentee in Johannesburg is Donald Trump. The US president says he's boycotting the summit over allegations of discrimination against white farmers in the host country. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has called the claims completely false. Among those who are there is India's Prime Minister, with some analysts claiming the lack of US representation might actually provide some opportunities. Ishan Girg reports.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected to speak in all 3 sessions at the summit, which focus on inclusive economic growth, disaster risk reduction, climate change, and emerging technologies like AI. The summit's agenda mirrors priorities India championed during its own G20 presidency in 2023, ensuring that concerns of the Global South remain central to global discussions. With the United States boycotting the meeting, India is expecting an opportunity to strengthen South-South cooperation and push for reformed global governance. Prime Minister Modi will also hold bilateral meetings with world leaders on the sidelines and participate in the India-Brazil-South Africa leaders meeting.
Attacks by Israeli settlers on Palestinian communities in the West Bank are increasing. There was further violence on Thursday night as senior Israeli officials met to discuss the issue. Blake Sifton reports from Tel Aviv.
In the latest attack by Israeli settlers, vehicles and a building were burned in the Palestinian town of Hawara in the northern West Bank on Thursday night. The incident came as Prime Minister Netanyahu convened an emergency meeting of senior officials to discuss growing settler violence. The military, police, and Shin Bet intelligence agency outlined measures to address the attacks that reached new highs in October. But the government is reportedly unlikely to reinstate the use of administrative detention for Israeli citizens. That's a legal mechanism for detaining people without charge that is now only used against Palestinians.
A large turnout is expected in Marseille this weekend as activists step up their fight against drugs and drug-related gang violence. The French government says that the drug crime threat is equivalent to terrorism. Spearheading the fight is one activist who's lost 2 brothers to drug violence. Ross Cullen reports.
Amin Kisasi has been fighting against drug trafficking for several years after the body of his other brother, Brahim, was found in a burnt-out car in 2020. Now his second sibling has also died in France's worsening drug violence, and Amin had to attend his funeral in a bulletproof vest and surrounded by bodyguards due to his anti-drugs activism and attempts to expose the damage to working-class communities caused by gangs. The French Interior Minister and Justice Minister were in Marseille on Thursday in a trip focused on the fight against drug trafficking, and a silent march in memory of Mehdi Kassassi will take place in the port city this weekend.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. Delegations from over 50 nations across Europe and the Indo-Pacific are gathering to discuss shared security concerns and deepening economic cooperation. It's the fourth such forum, and senior European officials say broader ties are needed to counter threats posed by Russia and China. William Densley reports from Brussels.
Kai Kallas, the EU's top diplomat and foreign affairs chief, said that 4 years ago, many members of this forum might have questioned what they were doing here and the purpose of this kind of collaborative meeting. But she says that over the past 4 years, that has changed dramatically. She says that there are huge areas of cooperation, and it's essential for both sides to start taking advantage of that.
China has only bought a limited amount of American soybeans after it agreed to resume imports last month. The lack of large purchases has fuelled concern among American farmers, a key support base of US President Donald Trump. Laura Westbrook reports from Hong Kong.
Following a meeting between the US president and Chinese leader Xi Jinping in South Korea, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said China agreed to buy 12 million tons of soybeans through the remainder of the year. Chinese purchases so far reportedly total around 10% of the promised amount. China has been buying more soybeans from South American countries like Brazil, and some experts argue China can almost meet domestic demand without making large purchases from the US.
To recap the top stories, world leaders are gathering in South Africa for the G20 summit, but the meeting has been overshadowed by the lack of the US president, who's boycotting the event. Attacks by Israeli settlers on Palestinian communities in the West Bank are increasing. There was further violence seen on Thursday night as senior Israeli officials met to discuss the issue. And a large turnout is expected in Marseille this weekend as activists step up their fight against drugs and drug-related gang violence. That's the latest feature story news. John Beaver reporting.
Bringing you information you never knew you cared about. Rated R Safety Show.
This portion of the show has been sponsored by Private Internet Access, America's #1 virtual private network, or VPN. Even if you use incognito mode, internet service providers is storing your browser data and many times even selling it. But Private Internet Access, or PIA, can help you. PIA encrypts and reroutes your internet traffic through one of its own servers, hiding your data from your internet service provider or network admin. And with servers in over 75 countries, you can get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content from around the world. PIA comes with easy-to-use apps and browsers extension for all devices, a rock-solid privacy policy, open source security, advanced customization settings, and it was just ranked the fastest VPN in the world by PC Magazine. And if you sign up right now with PIA, you can take advantage of a special deal only for Safety FM listeners. Only by using the following link, you can get the digital privacy for less than $2 a month. Yes, you did hear me correctly, less than $2 a month, and an extra 4 months for free. So that means for only $1.98 a month and 83% off, you can get this service for you right now. That's so much more inexpensive than virtually every other VPN on the market. And if you get it right now, you can take PIA's 30-day risk-free challenge. You can try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, and if not, just return it for a full refund. So just go to safetyfm.com/VPN. That's safetyfm.com/VPN to try out the best VPN on the planet completely risk-free. Now remember, safetyfm.com/VPN.
This is safety training old, stale, and hacked? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
If you're anything like me, you have certain tendencies to put things off, such as filing taxes, seeing the doctor, working on that home improvement project that you're supposed to be doing, but you just haven't gotten to it. And while most of the times it works out, the one thing in life that you really cannot afford to wait on is setting up term coverage life insurance. You've probably seen life insurance commercials on TV and thought, yeah, I'll look into it later. Well, the answer is no. This isn't something that you can wait for. Choose life insurance through Ladder today. Ladder is 100% digitals, no doctors, no needles, no paperwork. When you apply for $3 million in coverage or less, just answer a few questions about your health in an application. Ladder's customers rate them 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot, and they've made Forbes' best life insurance in 2021's list. You just need a few minutes and a phone or a laptop to apply. Ladder's smart algorithm works in real time, so you'll find out if you're instantly approved. No hidden fees, cancel anytime, get full refund if you change your mind in the first 30 days. Ladder policies are issued by insurers with long proven histories of paying claims. They're rated A and A+ by AM Best. Finally, since life insurance costs more as you age, now is the time to cross it off your list. So go to ladder.com/safetyfm today to see if you're instantly approved. That's LADDER life.com/safetyfm. Ladderlife.com/safetyfm.
In safety, in my opinion, you woke up. You saw the system, the simulation, the structure that trained you to mistake compliance for care. Safety mutation. Information misdirection picks up where the signal fractured. Because the system didn't shut you down, it rebranded you. It packaged your voice, sold your rebellion as a new initiative, and smiled while doing it. This isn't a manual. It's a decoded transmission about what happens when slogans replace stories, when safety becomes marketing, and when truth gets mirrored so perfectly, you forget it was ever yours. You'll see the mutation. Learning teams turned into theater, zero harm turned into optics, and feedback turned into formatting. But the signal didn't die. It was redirected. Safety Mutation is Book 2 of the Signal Transmission Trilogy. Available now in print, Kindle, and audiobook. Narrated by the author J. Allen, Ph.D. Because the system adapted. Now it's your move. Radio in USA, Canada, UK.
The grind don't stop. The grind don't stop. Ready. Our safety show. Where the chaos and the truth will go. Ready. Our safety show. Burning bright where the shadows hide. No filter, no fear, just let it go.
Okay, in case you were not aware, you are still hanging out here on the Rated R Safety Show. 43 minutes past the top of the hour, as you and I are getting to do our thing on this lovely Friday. That good old Freedom Friday.
Is not for the taint. This ain't a whisper, it's a roaring flame. Friction.
Oh yeah, you know, that's some thematic music around here as we are doing our thing, that is for sure.
Leaves a mark.
Yeah, just in case. This is the theme for the Rated R Safety Show. So there you go. A lot of stuff going on right there. Anyways, as we are hanging out today and doing all the fine stuff that we get to do, let me tell you about the most important thing that I will ever tell you in my lifetime, and that's about my friends at To Write Love on Her Arms. No matter what you're facing, you deserve to be connected to help. And the people at To Write Love on Her Arms want you to know that people have been where you are now, and things can get better. Healing is possible. To find out more information, all you need to do is go to TWLOHA.com. That's TWLOHA.com and click on the section that says Find Help. Once you get there, a plethora of information about things that are going on inside of the world of the multiverse, because that is how it goes. And then we go from there. TWLOHA.com, To Write Love on Her Arms. Once you get there, click on the section that says Find Help. You'll see information related to addiction, depression, anxiety, eating disorder, self-injury, suicide, trauma, and grief support. That's TWLOHA.com, To Write Love on Her Arms. So there you go. Change everything for you, just in regard of that particular regards. TWLOHA.com. Okay, so with that being said, let's continue talking about some other things that are going on inside of the multiverse of ours, because that is kind of what we do. Let's talk about this real quick. The average relationship that ends, it dies around 2.5 years. That's the sweet spot where you finally start seeing the real person, not the dressed up one, best foot forward showroom model. The quirks have surfaced. The bad habits are out. By year 3, you know who leaves the dishes in the sink and who weaponizes silence as an Olympic sport. So what do you think? Breakups aren't short-term affairs. What do you think about the whole thing? I mean, it is something to think about. I saw that news story and I had some questions, of course, immediately going, is this really how it works when it's all said and done? Because, listen, it gets strange inside of some relationships. Let's not lie about this. Sometimes we tend to look at some stuff and not really focus on what the hell's going on. So there you go. Some stuff to think about as we are talking, no doubt about that. So what do you think? If you think about some of the relationships that you've been in, and I know it's kind of one of those, why are we doing this type of thing? It's something to think about. So there you go. Did it work out in that fashion? Okay, let's talk about some movies that are coming out today, because it's going to be important for some people. Let's see. The following movies will be out this week. Rental Family, starring Brendan Fraser and Paolo Andrea Di Prieto. An American actor in Tokyo struggling to find a purpose lands an unusual gig working for a Japanese rental family agency, playing a stand-in roles for strangers. He rediscovers purpose, belonging, and beauty of human connections. Rated PG-13, hitting theaters today. Also, Wicked for Good. That comes out today. This is the emotional and epic finale of Wicked film saga. The Elphaba, the Wicked Witch, lives in exile, fighting for the right of Oz oppressed animals and exposing the wizard's lies. Glinda is now glamorous icon of Emerald City, but her fame can't hide how she misses her friend. As tensions spiral, the two must confront their past and reshape Oz and their relationship. No, like seriously, for good. Rated PG hits theaters today. Also in some other news, Altered, starring Aggie K. In an alternate present, genetically enhanced humans dominate society. Outcast Leon and Chloe fight for justice against corrupt politician exploiting genetic disparity, risking everything to challenge the oppressive system. That hits the movie theaters today. Rated PG-13. So some stuff to take a gander at, if you're so inclined to do so. Are you a big moviegoer? Like, I will tell you, I can tell you already, Wicked for Good, I will go see in the theater. And here's the thing. I live with 3 females, my wife and my 2 daughters. I know for sure that I will end up going to see this thing. Not in a bad thing. Like, I will tell you, like, the people in my family always are like, oh, you don't like musicals. A few years back, more than just a few, I guess now, when La La Land came, my oldest daughter at the time wanted to see it. And I was like, listen, musicals are not really my gig, but I'll go and watch it with you.
Duh.
And we went to go see it, and I don't know if it was because I had just come back from a trip from California or what the hell was going on, but I loved that movie. Like, loved that movie. I can't even tell you how many times I've watched that movie. And it's not my typical movie. And not like I can really sit back for a moment and go, oh, this is my typical style of movie. So, if you haven't seen the first Wicked movie, I'd encourage you to watch it. That way you can go see Wicked for good. Yeah, I mean, it's a good time. That's what I had to say. Anyways, let's do something a little bit more positive. Let's bring some John Smalls into our life and let him tell us about the Motivation Minute. No, like, seriously, let's let him do that right now. Let's just do it.
The Motivation Minute, courtesy of GenesisGoldIRA.com and JaceCaseMedical.com.
The Motivation Minute.
Today's quote was submitted by Johnny. Elizabeth Katie Stanton said, "Truth is the only safe ground to stand upon." Awesome quote. I recently had a conversation with my mother about truth. We were talking about something that had been branded a conspiracy, but then it was revealed that it was not a conspiracy. It was true all along. My mother said, "I don't know what to believe anymore," to which I agreed, but then I added, "The only thing I know for sure is that I don't know anything for sure." That was a weird phone call. I've played that back in my brain a bunch. I have faith and I believe in God, but other than that, I'm not sure what else I can really believe.
The Motivation Minute.
The Motivation Minute, courtesy of GenesisGoldIRA.com and JaceCaseMedical.com. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
In Ukraine today, a powerful string of Russian airstrikes struck 2 apartment buildings overnight, leaving devastation and heartbreak in their wake.
NATO was quick to scramble jets from Romania and Poland after the deadly attacks, which killed at least 25 people, including 3 children. The rare, large-scale assault targeted the western city of Ternopil, an area previously considered relatively safe amid ongoing conflict. Benjamin Wright, reporting.
Police in Mexico have arrested the suspected mastermind behind the killing of Uruapan's mayor, Carlos Monzo, a crime that shocked the nation on Wednesday.
The mayor was shot during a public Day of the Dead ceremony, sparking protests and widespread condemnation of violence against public servants. Authorities say the arrest is part of a broader effort to tackle organized crime targeting officials, noting that Manzo's murder ignited calls for greater federal support. Chris Anderson reporting.
A Nigerian court today found Nnamdi Kanu, a leader of the country's separatist Biafra movement, guilty on 7 terrorism-related charges after a lengthy trial.
Kanu, recognized internationally for leading the indigenous people of Biafra, was convicted of inciting violence and unrest through his campaigns. The court's decision comes amid increasing security concerns in Nigeria's southeast, where supporters have frequently clashed with security forces. Authorities say the verdict is meant to deter attacks. Joseph Eckerson reporting.
This is the latest news headlines.
Federal prosecutors in Chicago today moved to dismiss charges against a woman who was shot after ramming her car into a law enforcement vehicle.
The government's stunning decision reverses their previous position, coming after weeks of scrutiny over the use of force in the incident. The woman, whose actions sparked heated local debate, faced federal charges that prosecutors now say will not go forward. Officials have not detailed the internal discussions that led to the change, but stressed their commitment to public safety and justice. Lawrence Keller reporting.
Walmart announced today that robust sales this month show it's helping Americans navigate tough times and rising costs.
The retail giant cited strong revenue and increased foot traffic despite broader economic worries in the country. Walmart executives point to new programs and store upgrades as drivers of success, saying shoppers are prioritizing value more than ever. Analysts note these results highlight the chain's growing role as an affordable mainstay in the nation's retail landscape. Jessica Oakley reporting.
A new federal terrorism charge has been filed today against a man accused of setting a woman on fire on a Chicago train.
Investigators say the suspect deliberately targeted the victim in a violent incident that left bystanders horrified and authorities racing to respond. Federal officials acted swiftly, citing the severity of the crime and elevated public concern. The woman's condition remains critical, and prosecutors vow to pursue justice through every available channel. Kevin Sanders reporting.
And that's the latest news headlines with Alan Edwards.
Tearing the ass out of you like gas station sushi.
Okay, that sounds pretty intense to me, but there you go. What do I know? Anyways, let's start talking about some things that happened back on this date. As I take a look around, if I take a look at 2019, Elon Musk launches Tesla's electric Cybertruck with a shatterproof window that, when demonstrated on stage, well, it shattered. That happened back on this date in 2019. Just in case if you're wondering. Okay, let's talk about some other stuff. If you're looking at some celebrity birthdays for today, let's talk about some of those. Marlo Thomas turns 88. Goldie Hawn turns 80. Livingston Taylor turns 75. Lorna Luft turns 73. Cherry Jones, 69. Nicolette Sheridan turns 62. Troy Aikman turns 59. Ken Griffey Jr. turns 56. Michael Strahan turns 54. And Carly Rae Jepsen turns 40 today. There you go. If you're looking at some birthdays for today. If you're looking at some, let's talk about things that we should know, things you ought to know first, and then we'll kind of get into the other portion. NFL last night, the Texans beat the Bills 23-19. Two former presidents, four former vice president, and dignitarians from both parties attended yesterday's funeral services for Dick Cheney, one of the most powerful and polarizing vice presidents in United States history. Cheney died at 84 years old of age on November the 4th following complications from pneumonia and cardiac vascular disease. Former President George W. Bush spoke at the funeral, and former President Joe Biden attended. Tonight's Mega Million jackpot will be for $60 million, and tomorrow's Powerball jackpot will be for $629 million. A federal judge ruled on Thursday that President Trump's months-long deployment of thousands of National Guard forces to the street of Washington, D.C. violates the federal law, and U.S. District Judge Gia Cobb sided with D.C. Attorney General Brian Schwab, who sued the federal government over the Guard deployment, arguing that it exceeded the president's legal authorities, but the judge stated that her ruling for 21 days give Trump's administration the chance to appeal. So there you go. Also, Senator John Fetterman's new memoir, Unfiltered, sold 0 copies in his hometowns and Barnes & Noble store for the first days after the launch. According to the review of the book, despite Fetterman and his high ghostwriter reportedly receiving more than $1 million in advance money for publishing with Crown, Unfiltered has so far sold poorly, but online and retail stores. The day that Fetterman book dropped, I called a handful of Barnes and Nobles and independent bookstores in Pennsylvania, reported Defector Media Alex Schultz. Barnes and Nobles in York, where Fetterman was born and raised, had sold 0 copies. The Barnes and Nobles in Philadelphia had sold 2 copies. So there you go. In some other news, the Trump administration announced that the oil drilling off of California and Florida coast for the first time in decades yesterday, as president seeks to expand on the U.S. oil production in advancing projects, and critics say that it will harm coastal communities and ecosystems. So there you go. Anyways, that's going to end our time together. At the top of the hour, I will be going over to radiobig.fm if you want to come and hang out with me for the next couple hours or so. That would be fantastic. Also today at noon drops our newest episode of Safety FM with Jay Allen, so you might want to take a listen to that one. I would highly recommend it just for the sake of doing so. Let's see if I can leave you with some words of wisdom for today. Confidence creates results. And if you need some advice for today, roast your turkey upside down for the first half. Breast side down, gravity pulls juices into the white meat. Flip it halfway for the golden. I didn't burn it this year finish. So there you go. That's going to be an important one. Anyways, I know who you are. You know who I am. Love you, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Safety FM and or Radio Big. The content discussed, including examples of analysis, is provided for illustrative purposes only. It should not be applied as the sole solution in real-world scenarios, as it is based on limited and dated open source information. Any assumptions made during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are not reflective of Safety FM and or Radio Big. No portion of this broadcast, podcast, or radio show may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of Safety FM and or Radio Big. For permission requests,
please contact Safety FM or Radio Big directly.
Our safety show, burning bright where the shadows hide. No filter, no fear, just let it go.